Mark is a sociologist who was enticed to join an organization called NICE, which aims to control all human life. His wife, meanwhile, has bizarre prophetic dreams about a decapitated scientist, Al-Qassad. As Mark is drawn inextricably into the sinister organization, he discovers the truth of his wife's dreams. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himvar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of C.S. Lewis's That Hideous Strength. That Hideous Strength is a 1945 novel and book 3 of the Cosmic or Space Trilogy by Lewis. It is twice the length of the first two books, and it is also set entirely on Earth, which is different from the rest of the books as well. It also has new main characters. This time it has two, Mark and Jane, rather than Ransom, though Ransom is a character in the book. It's interesting because in the introduction of the book, actually, Lewis calls it fantasy, though, of course, it's still sci-fi, and if you're Michael Moorcock, then sci-fi is just a version of fantasy, which is pretty interesting. Of course, this is the sci-fi he wrote on a bet with Tolkien, and Tolkien never finished his, of course. This time, our characters, Mark is a sociologist, and his wife, Jane, is kind of, well, she's at least having prophetic visions. What that entails becomes obvious throughout the story. But if you've read the first two books, you know this is kind of like Christian sci-fi anyways. Mark is ambitious and finds himself in cahoots with NICE, or the NICE, as he's not into the university anymore, essentially. But NICE, of course, is a sinister front, essentially for the bad guys in this dystopian world. Jane is a rather nervous character, though, but she's also an academic, actually, like Mark, but she has found herself in the role of housewife ever since their marriage started. One really cool thing about this one is this book came out in 1945, and Numenor is name-dropped a couple times, and this is almost a decade before The Lord of the Rings was released, so obviously, you know, Tolkien was working on his stuff before that, but it's still pretty cool. Middle-earth is also mentioned. I don't know if that is a reference to Tolkien, since, you know, that is a phrase, you know, just like where Tolkien didn't make that one up, for example. But I felt like it was also a reference to Tolkien's work. But this story is, in a way, it's kind of ironic, definitely dystopian, definitely Christian. It kind of is about what really matters, and it comes through with more of Lewis's philosophy and his Christianity. Good is good, and has a few set parameters, but is different for the most part in each person. And you know, honestly, I think this is also pretty cool because Lewis does a good job of basically standing up for genre fiction too. But so I appreciate that, and also in a way, this story though is Arthurian. And interestingly enough, the name of the book is taken from a poem, I believe by David Lindsay, about the Tower of Babel. And the strength here, of course, means a fortress. But yeah, I need to double check that, but that's what my notes say here. But I read this a few months ago. But there's some good stuff here. In fact, I have some quotes I wrote down. So if you enjoyed the first two books, this one's definitely a little different. I know some people find this one to be the best one. To me, it's probably my least favorite one, just because it's a little long-winded. It's kind of on par with the first book, and the second book is easily my favorite, but it is still pretty good. I like it. I wouldn't be surprised if I reread this at some point in the future, because I feel like I'd get more from it on a reread. But anyways, this is Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.